Collecting public input through voicemail and our engagement website, edina.org. Thank you. It is important you know that all comments that have been submitted have been received and read prior to the start of this meeting. You do not need to submit the same feedback in another way. All feedback is considered equally, regardless of the way in which it was submitted. Tonight there is one public hearing. Individuals who want to provide testimony remotely for the public hearing can call 312-535-8110 and enter access code 2631-527-1706. Password is 5454. Press star 3 on your telephone keypad when you would like to get in the queue to speak. A staff member will unmute you when it is your turn. Please state your full name and address, including unit number, before speaking. Everyone is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. So before I move on, I just can't help but notice that the access code that I just read is different than what was on the screen. So we'll read that out again before the public hearing. Remember, you do not need to call in or comment live tonight if you have already provided feedback. Also, do not repeat information already presented. Provide testimony if you have new comments or information to bring forward. So now the first item is to have the call to order. The meeting is in order, and we need a roll call, please.
Commissioner Felt. Here. Commissioner Bornstein. Here. Commissioner Day.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Padilla.
Here.
Chair Elkhart.
Here. Item 3 is approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'd like to approve the meeting minutes from the September 10th, 2025 meeting. Is there a motion for that?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from September 10th, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Now we move on to community comment. We will now hear from residents in person who would like to speak about something not on tonight's agenda or scheduled for a future public hearing. You may speak for up to 3 minutes. After giving your full name and address, including unit number, the green light at your podium will turn on. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the yellow light will turn on. When you're out of time, the red light will turn on. Do we have anyone in the room who would like to give community comment tonight? Seeing no one, that moves us on to our public hearing. Tonight we have one public hearing, a variance request for 8 Woodland Road. We will have a presentation by Assistant Planner Acker, and then perhaps a presentation by the applicant if they wish, and then we'll take questions after that. So take it away, Planner Acker.
Chair, members of the Planning Commission, the request is for a 7-foot front yard setback variance from the cul-de-sac that is at number 8 Woodland Road. The subject property is at the end of the cul-de-sac on the west side. It's number 8 Woodland Road. The existing structure is a 2-story home built in 1941 with an attached structurally failing garage that is connected from the house by an elongated breezeway. You can see the connection here. So it is part of the principal structure. It's not a detached accessory garage. It's part of the house. The current home does not meet the required front yard setback standard, which is the average front yard setback of the adjacent homes. And that would be in the garage area. This slide shows you some photographs taken from the cul-de-sac, and then as well as an aerial photograph. You can see the relationship of the existing home with the homes on either side. The house that is directly affected by the request is quite a bit further away from that garage than the adjacent home that's on the other side. This is a slide of the existing condition survey. And this is really the area in question right here. It's the southeast corner of the garage. The location of the cul-de-sac is too close based upon the average front yard setbacks of the homes on either side. This then is what they would like to accomplish, which is a removal of that elongated breezeway with a replacement of an addition that would include basement, main floor, and second floor. All of that conforms to the ordinance requirements. They would be increasing the size of the garage, but they would not be putting it any closer to the front yard. So it's matching that existing non-conforming setback. It will maintain the required 10-foot side yard setback. This gives you a little better idea of what the requirement is for setback. The red arc here is the required setback, and then the one that's closer to the street here is where the existing corner of the garage currently is and where it will maintain and be replaced at. There will be a second floor addition above the garage. Currently there is, it's just a one-story garage, and that will connect obviously with the rest of the dwelling addition into the second floor of the house. The next slides are of the existing floor plans as well as the proposed floor plans. This is the basement of the existing house. All of this is unexcavated. The breezeway, garage, main floor. There'll be some remodeling in this area to connect with the new addition. And then the second floor, all of the second floor currently exists over that first floor. And then this is what they're proposing. They'd be replacing that elongated breezeway with a game room in the basement, unexcavated where the garage is. The main floor would consist of a mudroom, office, and then a larger garage at the same setback. And then the second floor would connect with this new addition that would create additional bedroom and bathroom areas. So regarding compliance, the addition meets all of the ordinance requirements, well within the building coverage, surface coverage. It will not maintain the required front yard setback, but again, it meets the existing non-conforming setback. They just wish to replicate that, and the second floor will actually be a little further away. Just at that corner is where the encroachment occurs. So this then are some existing photographs of the home in comparison with what they are proposing. And then this gives you a little bit of an idea of what the relationship is between the neighboring properties and the home with the new addition. So the most affected neighbor is the one that is furthest away from the adjacent properties and has their garage door facing the side wall of the proposed improvements. You can see that that second floor that they're proposing above the garage will be a little bit further away. They'll have a dormer coming out over that first garage stall. And it's really just in this area where there's a nonconformity. So here are the proposed elevations of the front, and then the side as you go to the back of the house. All of this is conforming. So the recommended action, staff recommends approval of a 7-foot front yard setback variance for property at number 8 Woodland Road. Approval is subject to the findings listed in the staff report and following, that the practical difficulty is caused by the required average front yard setback requirement that is farther from the front lot line than the existing current structure setback. There are circumstances that are unique to the subject property. Those unique circumstances include an existing nonconforming garage having a location by a curved street frontage and the average setback around the cul-de-sac based on those neighboring properties that are affecting the buildable area of the lot and the existing original home and garage location. There isn't space available on the lot for a conforming desired expansion of that existing garage without the benefit of a variance, and the proposal would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The garage is of similar design to the house with matching materials used, and the addition will match the existing home setback from the cul-de-sac. Any approval should be subject to the following conditions: subject to the survey and plans date stamped August 26, 2025, compliance with the environmental engineer's building permit requirements, and compliance with the tree ordinance. There were in your packet 2 letters, one from each property owner at number 7 and number 9 Woodland Road. Those are the ones that were most affected by it, and they are in full support of the request. And we have the property owners, Heather and Travis Wells, present, as well as their builders. And with that, I will stop and answer questions that you may have.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation or just be ready for questions? Okay, so let's go to questions. Anyone have questions?
I guess the question is there any effort made to design an addition that would comply, and was that not possible to do that?
I think that might be more appropriate for the applicant, although I can appreciate that it is difficult to try to come up with a conforming solution unless they, if you look.
Feasible, oh, thanks. How feasible would that have been or not been under the circumstances?
So it is a large lot. However, when you look at what the required front yard setback is and the side yard setback, that really hinders any opportunity for a garage that would be conforming. I don't know if there's any desire to put a detached garage in the back of the yard. These are all choices that a property owner can make. I can appreciate that when you look at a property and it has a setback that you would assume that you could match or at least rebuild in, that in this situation that they would need a variance because of how the other homes on either side are, what their front yard setbacks are. It makes it difficult for them to add on to what's already there that's been there since. I was looking at the building permit information on the property. There isn't any evidence that there was a change or that the existing garage had been constructed in any different fashion. So that should, I believe, be original to the house, including the very elongated breezeway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, looking at it, it kind of looks like, it looks to me like if they tried to build a garage even of the same size of the one that they're tearing down, it would still encroach a little bit into still need a variance.
Yes.
Yeah, because it looks like they're moving it back less than expanding a little bit backward, back to the line, but they would still be needing a variance in front.
Correct.
It's not even clear to me that they could build. I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Could you even build like a functional garage in that similar space without needing a front yard setback, even if it is bumped back a little bit?
Well, the ordinance doesn't require a 2-car garage. So, I mean, I guess there is opportunity to reduce the amount of garage area that you have currently to a 1-car. So, yeah, I mean, there is a possibility. I don't think it's a practical solution.
Other questions?
see this.
Hi.
Was there a question there?
Hello, Mr. Nordahl.
What's the
No,
question?
just asking, you're asking a little bit of the history of the design, and for one, I appreciate that they're reusing the driveway. I mean, maybe so there's less landscaping, but I've talked with Mr. Nordahl before. We have no financial arrangement on this. I wish he'd adopt me, as a lot of other kids in the business, but you have certain feelings about single-family residences, and I'd like it.
I
Talk about
just
them.
think they tried their best to fit the lot, to fit the cul-de-sac, and I just don't think there are a lot of options. And still keep a backyard to the house. So I just think
And most of the house is being kept
Yeah.
in this.
we're trying to keep the old historic houses instead of tearing them down.
Yeah. I appreciate the work you do.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing then. We'll now hear from residents who would like to provide testimony. Individuals who want to provide input remotely for the public hearing can call 312-535-8110 and enter access code 2868-986-7064. The password is 5454. Press star 3 on your telephone keypad when you would like to get in the queue to speak. Callers, if you're watching the meeting on any other device or television, please mute that before speaking so there's not an echo or feedback. When you hear the prompt on your telephone that you've been unmuted, please begin speaking by giving your name and address, including unit number for the record. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Before we go there, is anyone in the room here to provide testimony on this project? Not seeing any, so we should wait 30 seconds, or what's the...
Yes, there is a slight delay in the broadcast, so I do recommend we wait about 1 minute here.
Okay, we'll wait for your cue then.
Okay. We still do not have any callers, so it's safe to proceed.
Great, thank you. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So motion carries. So we'll bring it back to the commission. Any comments or thoughts that anyone would like to share? Commissioner Pelt?
Thank you. I'll start. So it occurs to me, I think you've brought this up in previous meetings, Commissioner Alkire. Over the past 3 years, 2.5 years, we have always approved side yard setback variances and front yard setback variances. I can't remember one that we haven't. And also this building is well within the building coverage. It's only half of the lot coverage. And I appreciate that it's reusing the existing driveway, which I said earlier. And the design even cuts back at the upper level to soften the corner where it does kind of encroach over the side yard setback. I think the addition is sensitive and well done. And I don't see any reason not to approve it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
On the line. I'm in favor of approving this one as well, but for different reasons. Don't, just on the side yard piece, just with garages, I actually think that I don't want to set a precedent that if you are tearing down a garage, expand your garage, we're always going to grant a variance with respect to a side yard setback, because this doesn't really affect you guys, because that's not what you're asking for. But just to your point, Meriwether, I mean, I think you could build a large garage right up onto the line. Sometimes the side yard setbacks are 5 feet. I wouldn't be supportive of that. But a variance just to allow someone to tear down a garage, build a new garage up to the line, that wouldn't be something I would view as. So I don't know if we've done that previously.
Our
but that's
building
not.
code requires people to be able to get to the back of their yards with equipment such as lawnmowers and things like that, and that's not even close to this. So it's not. Every homeowner is required by our planning code to be able to kind of get their own yard keeping equipment to their backyard.
Right.
And that's not an issue with this one.
I know. I'm just saying, you mentioned that we've always approved side yard variances.
Well,
That's not-
the side
that's
yard
not a-
variances that have been brought to us,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
they've all been reasonable.
And I'm just thinking about a garage, and if someone was going to tear down a garage, rebuild a new garage, to expand it into the side yard setback to the line, I personally wouldn't, it's making a record, like I wouldn't support that. I don't think that would meet necessarily the criteria for a variance. This is different because it's about a front yard setback. Also, staff mentioned that the practical difficulty may be that the practical difficulty in complying with the ordinance is that the ordinance prohibits the structure. I've never, just personally, never thought that the practical difficulty can be that the ordinance requires something different. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me that can be a practical difficulty. That's why the variance request is being made. If that were true, there would be practical difficulty met in every single instance a variance was requested, because the practical difficulty is that whatever's being proposed doesn't comply with the law. So because that's one of the findings that's suggested, I don't agree with that finding. I do think that the practical difficulty has to do with what I was talking about, that you all are attempting to build a garage that you wouldn't be able to build even in this, you wouldn't even build the same size garage that you currently have in substantially the same place without coming back to us and asking for a front yard setback variance. And that's, I think, the practical difficulty in my mind here. So that's the slight modification I might make just for myself in finding that the standard is met, but I'm in favor for those reasons.
Thank you. Commissioner Day?
Not really much to add. Good discussion. I believe that I agree with the staff report that this meets the requirements necessary to grant a variance, and therefore would support approval.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
Thank you. I would be in support of this. I know this is one of the cases we see often where the formula that we have today in our code, the whole goal of the front yard setback is to maintain sight lines, right? You drive down the street, you don't want to see houses jutting out and sticking, going back and forth on the street. And that's for most straight streets. So we built a formula where we look at the average of the adjacent properties, and then we kind of calculate what that's going to be, and then we set that for everyone, right? It has a real value there because it really improves the look and feel of the streets that we have. That formula breaks down a little bit when we get involved with cul-de-sacs and curves. And so it's a little bit more tricky because there's not any more of a sight line per se. It's kind of when you go into that center of that curve and you look around, how does it look, right? So it's a little bit different. And so that's something that we will have to take a look at, hopefully, when we do our code update, because we do get cases like this. And in most of these types of cases, we tend to approve it if it's reasonable, if it meets the criteria, because more than likely, the curved cul-de-sac type scenarios doesn't fit well with our current formula. So that being said, there's a couple of things that I really appreciate with this. You're not necessarily, you're kind of grandfathering in essentially what your garage footprint is. You're just expanding it to the back a little bit more. And I think that makes sense to do. When we look at the side and the rear lot line setbacks, I could tell based on your drawing that you kind of cut that in a little bit so that you don't cross over that line at the side of your house. So that, we certainly appreciate that. Also, for a house of this size and location, saying that you have to squeeze down to one car to make it work also wouldn't be super practical from my point of view. And so having a 2-car garage makes sense. And, I have a car, it's a little bit bigger than, I think, my garage, and so I have to squeeze it in. We've built garages in such a way for cars of a certain size, and vehicles have just gotten larger, right? And we have to find practical ways of fitting them in. So I could see that here as well. So I think for those reasons, and I really appreciate Commissioner Bornstein's question where we had to look at that map again, right? Because you could see all the red lines, which is, where could I move this garage if I had to? And it doesn't really make sense. It could fit anywhere, really, on this property with street access, etc., to get safely in and out. And so you're doing the best that you can with the space that you have in the front, and you're not really pushing forward anymore. You're just maintaining the same location and just expanding it backwards. And so I think, as a homeowner, you've shown, I think, to try to fit as much of what you're trying to build within the constraints that you had. And so from my perspective, I think you've done what you need to kind of make this work. And so I'm in support of this.
Thank you. Commissioner Padilla?
I'm fully supportive.
Thank you. I support it too. I think the only thing I would add to the conversation is I think to build on what Commissioner Feld said. I think this commission has been very comfortable with side yard setbacks and front yard setbacks that I can recall in cases of existing non-conforming, especially. So not as a rule favoring side yard setback variances or front yard setback variances, but when there's a existing non-conforming, I think the rationale is that everybody around has gotten used to that, and it's not protecting anybody from anything they weren't already experiencing. So I support this project as well. I think we're probably ready for a motion.
I'll motion to approve the variance as submitted based on the findings in the staff report, subject to the plan, survey, and other attachments, date stamped August 26, 2025.
Can I ask a clarifying question about that?
Sure.
So I don't agree with finding number one. I don't think the practical difficulty can be that. It just doesn't make sense to me. If it makes sense to the rest, that's fine. But does that mean I have to vote against the motion? I mean, I'm in support of the variance. I'm a little bit sensitive to establishing that as a logical basis for finding that factor is met.
Yeah, Director Teague can clarify if necessary, but I think having expressed that opinion and it'll be recorded is enough, or is there some other way that this should be handled?
You could ask for a friendly amendment to the motion to eliminate that finding, if the rest of the commission agrees.
How about this? Again, not trying to belabor it, but could we amend your motion to approve based on the staff report, the finding, how would I phrase it?
So while you think about that,
I don't just want to create an alternative. Like that factor could be met for one or the other reason.
So I just wanted to say that I don't maybe necessarily interpret it quite the same way that you do the staff finding, right? And that the way that it's worded, the practical difficulties are caused by the existing location of the home, which is often a reason that we say that we give as a practical difficulty, that the home is its existing footprint no longer conforms to the ordinance. Right, so I imagine that this house was built before this cul-de-sac ordinance came into being.
If it's phrased that way, sorry, if it's actually phrased that way in writing in the report, that's a little bit different than we were discussing. So with that clarification, I think you can vote.
You're okay with the original motion?
I'm okay with the original motion, thanks.
Okay, so I think we're still looking for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming tonight. All right, we're going to move on to the work plan for 2026 and 2027. Last time, I feel like we've discussed 1 and 2 and 3, not to say we can't discuss them more if we choose tonight, but I feel like everybody's pretty comfortable with those. And we have a new one that was on the draft last meeting, but unfortunately Commissioner Smith was not here to talk about it. So could you just give us a paragraph on what you're proposing?
Absolutely. I'll talk about the food truck item, and then if you can go back to the comprehensive plan update. I think myself and Commissioner Felt would like to co-chair that one, so we could come back to it. But the last item there, number 4, really came from, if you guys could recall, we've had like a lot of conversations about food trucks and West Edina, where there isn't a whole lot of food establishments. Folks have to drive eastward to get to all the food places. And so there's an opportunity for us to, consider food trucks to be a way to generate and create, activity within an area, right, where there's no restaurant. So that's one idea. Also, from what we learned, a food truck generally would have to be associated with some kind of activity or event, I think, for them to show up. Like my kids have all these soccer games and these kind of things. There's like a food truck that these schools kind of work with to bring close by. And so if food trucks, in the future, potentially, right, could disassociate from the event, that could also be possible. And then finally, in the ordinance today, I think it's the way how it's set up roughly, from my knowledge here, is that it has to be about 500 feet away from a restaurant. And so that kind of prohibits a lot of spaces where food trucks could go. So what this request is looking at is just to study it. It's not proposing any kind of ordinance. It's just to understand what this possibility would look like. And so I think this would be good for us to learn, right? Other cities leverage food trucks a little bit differently. We could try to study that and see how we could leverage the food truck or mobile vending, to help bring some activity within the city in different locations as an option, right? And what's the challenges there? What's the options there? And once we kind of have that research done, we can bring it back to the commission and then hopefully make a decision on if you want to take it further to some kind of ordinance amendment or something like that. But the initial scope of it is really just to study that, to see if there's some legs and some feasibility of having, food trucks within the city, how they operate, if it makes sense, would it cannibalize restaurants, and see what that looks like. So that's really what this one is.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
Are we asking for city resources, i.e. a consultant for this initiative?
I don't think so. I hope not. I think this is something we could try to tackle. I'm not sure exactly on what the plan would be, how we lay out, the investigation, the research, who we would contact. But myself and I think Commissioner Padilla, we were just chatting, and we think we could partner up on this one and come up with some good ideas. But I don't think we would need consulting resources to do this analysis.
I would agree, and I'm happy to co-chair or be his wing person.
I think it's reasonable as a self-driven, PC-driven initiative rather than asking for city resources, just because of the considerable amount of work we have on the rest of the work plan and what we need to balance there. That's all.
Right. This is a bit limited scope study, kind of. Let's all learn more about it.
Right.
We'll
Cool.
do the work and we'll tell you.
Okay. A few chat GPT prompts later, and we got it. We got it figured out. All right.
So would it be correct to have owner as Quincy and contributors Bonnie and Meriwether? Are you interested in this too? I think, did you say that Meriwether was interested also?
I think on a different item, but I think for this one would be myself
Okay.
and Commissioner
Got it.
Padilla. Yeah.
And staff can support the expected resource requirement.
Yes, staff can
Which is
support this
small.
as well. Just to clarify, food trucks are allowed if it's part of an event at an office or something like that. You can have a food truck in that scenario, and that 500-foot separation from a restaurant only, it's a regulation for a tap room. A tap room can have a food truck if it's at least 500 feet away from a restaurant. So that's where that separation comes in, just for food trucks. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on the work plan? Is there a motion? Yes.
Yeah, just to add that the comprehensive plan update item, I know that's going to be a big one coming up next couple of years. I'm not sure if staff knows when we'll start looking at that, the timing. Just what are your thoughts on that, Director Teague?
Yes, we would like to get started toward the end of 2026. We set out the scope, figure out how we want to tackle it, and then the majority of it will be 2027 and 2028, with the goal of finishing, that's the deadline by Met Council, by December 31st of 2028. But we would start toward the end of next year. Traditionally, the Planning Commission chair has been the lead. You don't have to do it that way. And then all commissioners contribute. We'll want to talk about, do we want to update some small area plans? And there be a chair, possibly co-chairs with those types of efforts. We would talk about all of that the end of next year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Fair to motion?
Yes, I think so, unless there's any more discussion. I guess I should mention, since it was brought up today, this is the only item we have on the agenda for October 15th, so we can vote on it tonight if we wish. So if there's a motion,
I will motion to approve the 2026-2027 Planning Commission work plan.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair and member comments. Anyone have any comments? I don't have any tonight. No? Staff comment? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you go.
Yeah, I just have a comment. I know for a lot of residents in the city, the construction work that's happening on Highway 100 has been disruptive. And I had a conversation with city engineer Chad Milner a few weeks ago, and it was just a great conversation. You know, he's doing a great job managing that project, working through the challenges. And I would just suggest that residents, pay attention to the biweekly reports that come out. he really covers a lot in terms of what the next steps are, what to expect, and the challenges and the work that he's doing and the timing. I know with the school year kicking off with all the buses running around, getting to school has just been a little bit tough for residents. So I just wanted to give some props to Chad Milner for managing the project and keeping the city updated. It's going to be a little bit congested for the hour, but I think it's going to be really beautiful when it's done.
Yes, Commissioner Felt.
I'm just going to ask one question of staff while they're here and we're on TV. Has there been any update on the letter of agreement between the energy company and the railroad?
Oh, yes, that has been solved and settled, so construction will begin.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments, we can move on to staff. Director Teague.
Yeah, just a quick update from the last city council meeting. There was actually no actions taken, but a number of public hearings. That Warren subdivision that we talked about at the last meeting, public hearing was held for that. The barrio, the second story on the restaurant, and then the floodplain and stormwater ordinance. Those were public hearings held at city council at their last meeting. Decisions will be October 7th. And with the approval of the work plan, we will go ahead and cancel our October 15th meeting with no agenda items. We do have items for the 29th, so we can plan on that one for sure. That's it for me.
Thank you. One other agenda item.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Good night.